Hi, my name is Audrey Jean Williams Dorsey. I am 93 years old. I finished from Atherton Elementary School. I attended Phyllis Wheatley Senior High School, and I went to Texas Southern University. My sorority is Sigma Gamma Rho, and I worked for HISD for approximately 20 years. I am the middle child of 5 girls. I finished from Phyllis Wheatley High School. That was a wonderful experience. I was a Girl Scout, which there weren't very many, but my sister Marion got more badges than I did. She was an outgoing person. I finished Texas Southern University here in Houston. I worked at a photography studio while I was in school. And the people there didn't have as much education as I did. And they were just amazed that blacks did what we did. But we went to Galveston Beach one time, and it was amazing how they didn't know very much about life, but yet and still I worked for them, and they had more advantages than I did, but I took advantage of the advantages that I had. The superintendent, one of the supervisors, came to visit me. They had told her, and she came there, and she said she was surprised. Supervisors, I don't know who it was. I talked to a superintendent over the telephone. So the next day, that same night, it was late. I called my sister and I said, Dorothy, guess what? The principal just called me. I called the principal and told him that they want me to go to one of these other schools. She said, what? Call Mr. Johnson. That was the principal. Call Mr. Johnson and tell him. I said, girl, I'm not going to call that man this time of night. She said, call him. So I called the assistant principal, and he said, good, come on to the office in the morning when you get in. And they asked me, where are you going every morning when you passing the school up? I'll be taking my children to my parents to keep me while I was at work. Keep them while I was at work. Anyway, the assistant principal is out in the parking lot waiting for me to come in. And he said, come on, go to Mr. Johnson's office. And Mr. Johnson said, they called you, baby? I said, yes. He said, you could call. I said, but I didn't want to call you and wake you up. He said, you can call me anytime. That's the way it went. But what happened was he wanted to know, where were you when they first said something to you? I said, it was the people, we have our professional meetings in the morning before school starts. So we were at I forgot where this stadium was where we met. And people knew about it just about as soon as I did, it seemed like. Because people would come to me and touch me. One lady said, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you mean they sent you? I said, yes. She said, I hope you don't mind. She said, but I didn't think they would send somebody that looked like you. I thought they would send mulattoes. And dog, I am nothing like a mulatto. I said, we have heard good things about you, and we would like for you to go to one of our other schools. And I said, I don't care. I didn't mind. The school is a school. I didn't think about be some differences. I taught the second grade then. Okay. But when I went to the other school, I went to the sixth grade, and things were fine. with me. Now, it was two superintendents. I beg your pardon, two supervisors. There was a black supervisor and a white supervisor for the primary grades. And unfortunately, the black supervisor said, I thought they would have sent somebody like the girl who was Miss Wheatley at the time. But Miss Wheatley was not picked. They picked old funny Audrey Dorsey. You know, the principal was real nervous. When I went to his office that morning, he moved from chair to chair. He was nervous. I wasn't nervous. I don't know why he was so nervous, but he was. I had a bad experience there. There was this child in my class who was on medication. They gave him too much medication, I guess so he can fit in the classroom. It wasn't that baby didn't need that much medication. And so I told his mother, you need to go back to his doctor and find out if it's possible for his medication to be changed. And she did. And they cut his medication back. And I was so happy because he was like a zombie in the classroom. And they didn't know that, but I could see it because I was with him. It didn't seem like a challenge to me. It was just a regular school with more students. That's all that I could see. I don't know what they expected when they went to this school because I had no idea as to what, I wasn't expecting anything special. To me, it was the same. But the only thing that was different was the supervisors were different. I had a Caucasian. I had a black supervisor. And the amazing part was that the principal didn't even know I was coming. That's sad. That's HISD. I had more students before I went to this school, like 35, which was too many to be fair to the children. Then we had less students per teacher at that new school. But I tell you what, those babies were so sweet until I didn't have a problem with them. If a child was real slow, and there was a child who could learn and was able to help each of the others, I had a period in the back of the classroom where if this child got through with their assignment real early, then they could go to the table in the back and help a child who was slower in achieving their lesson. So that's what I did. I had to let them help each other. Black teachers taught at a black school and white teachers taught at a white school. But I was one of the first black crossover teachers to go to a so-called white school. But then they started having more black students who registered at this so-called white school. And I lived in Sunnyside, which was quite a distance away. That's why the principal asked me one morning, Miss Dorsey, where are you coming from when it's time to pull in the driveway and I see you passing the school up? I said, I'm taking my children to my parents. I met one lady, Adrian Hayslip. She was white, and she told me, Audrey, you are so different. You're not like all blacks. I said, yes, I am. I know difference. She said, not the concept, the idea that I had about blacks. You're just different. You're not like them. I said, yes, I am. I'm the same thing. I'm a black teacher. But her ideas, preconceived ideas, were totally different. I think I changed her idea as to some people, or some of the ideas that she had people were like. They started giving. In the black school where I was, I might have 35. Then over here, I might have 30 or 20, 29, you know. So the children were able to get more out of you than those at the other schools because you couldn't help them as much. In the books that we got, you know how children write their names in the books? It was filled up with names. We got some books that were undoubtedly outdated to teach the children, and they couldn't help but be behind. Now, we had the other sixth grade teacher, when I had the sixth grade, we did team teaching. I taught the language and I can't forget science. And the other teacher, he taught the math. And when we go to our professional meetings, people would be surprised what books you were reading, what books you were taught to teach the children out of. That's sad. I guess the district didn't want to spend any more money. They spent enough money for some schools to get new books, but not all schools. You know, you have professional meetings in the beginning of school, and all of the publishers bring books there. I was always glad to get on that list to go to the meetings. So, and then they would give you supplemental books that they were giving the whole district. So I got a chance to get all of these teachers' guides, which was different. And I was glad when they had those meetings that the publishers came and showed you their new books that they had for the district. So I always grabbed those books. When I went to that school, see, I had just started teaching, so they wanted to see lessons. So my sister gave me her lesson plans. At those schools, they had to write everything in black ink. And when I went to the new school, it might be in pencil. And the teacher would write. One teacher, she tickled me. She wrote SRA, which is a series, and drew a line. That was her lesson plan. Blacks, each had to write it in, use black ink or typed. And I don't imagine district, it's been a long time now, so they don't mind. But we didn't know. Now, what is telling you SRA? That's a series of things. And draw a line. That's not telling you what you're going to teach that day. But that was accepted. I was saying, one teacher came to me one day, one parent came to me one day, and she said, Mrs. Dorsey, I need to see Mrs. Dorsey. I said, I'm Mrs. Dorsey. May I help you? She said, you give too much homework. I said, oh, I'm so sorry, darling. If it's too much, don't make him do it. Because I can't make him do it. It's what you want for your child. I had some of the sweetest little people. Some of the girls would go home with me on the weekends because I had a daughter their age. And I can think of one, Melita Cleveland. I know the other one's going to be mad at me because I can't think of her name now. But they were such nice and smart, nice children. For any parent who can afford it, send your children to school. Give them a chance to improve themselves because it will pay off in the end. And it's such a wonderful feeling to be able to say, I did that.